What is going on, guys? First, what's going on? Bang, boom, shot. What's going on? What's going on, guys? What's good? What's good? What's going on, guys? Happy Sunday. Hi right now. What's going on? AGED53. What's going on? What's going on, guys? Yeah, I'm sitting down, which I never do. Posting the link to the stream. How was everyone's weekend? How was everybody's weekend? Solid? I look like a mini me. What's going on? Gonna give everybody a minute to get in here, guys. What's going on? Happy Sunday. Happy Sunday. What's going on, guys? What's going on? Eli, what's going on, guys? Jet Money Mans, what's going on? We are back. We are back. Oh, we gotta flip that. There we go. Yeah, I've been, when SPY breaks below the 50, I try to slap it up there, slap the 10 up there too. What's going on, Isaac? What's going on, guys? What is good? What is good? Sunday night live stream is upon us. Hopefully you guys are having a fantastic Sunday evening. NVIDIA puts seem to be cheap. Sup, brother? What's going on, Rocky B? The pantry, what's going on? Ives, what's going on? Can we go over ARK? Yeah, absolutely. ARK's an interesting one, right? Coming into the 200-day and that daily trend line too. Big spot. Big spot on ARKK into this week. I think this one's interesting. I thought, it had like a pretty decent bounce like on Friday, right? Off this spot. But, okay. Pretty decent bounce off that spot on Friday, right? But I think that I talked about this on the scan inside the Discord too, but into that 4150 area, right? I think is a decent target, right? But honestly, if we look back on this chart, guys, one reason I'm not like super like keen on possibly trading a bounce here is there's pretty big resistance at 4073, right? If we look back on the daily, you go back to all of these major resistance points from like March through like late February, right? We had a lot of resistance up here at that 4073 area. So do I think it could get an early week bounce? Yeah, I just think that upside potential is a little bit, it's definitely interesting, right? Off the 200-day, off this major, there's a lot of confluence here for a bounce, right? But like I would throw some caution to the wind with this with like, trust me, like I took 2 losses last week that were based on these weekly trend line bounces, right? Like I took a loss on Carvana and I took a loss on you. And I got really like, because we've been in this like more bull market sentiment. What's going on, guys? Say what's up to everybody that's just joining us. Make sure you guys are hitting that like button Always nice to hop on the stream. Look left. What's going on, brother? Hope you're doing well. But, I would throw some caution. I think a lot of people are looking at this, and it's not that it doesn't look good. It's just, personally, I can say from experience last week, this weekly or daily trend line setup, right, with a lot of confluence at those levels, I personally had two really high confidence long setups just completely fail on me, which I back test those longs like pretty heavily, and the failure rate is low, right? So for me, that was a discouraging sign in terms of trading longs in this market. So I think ARK had a nice bounce on Friday. I'm not entirely married to the fact that it needs to do anything this week, right? Tesla is very similar. Appreciate everybody slamming that like button. What's going on, guys? It is Sunday night, and we are doing the Sunday night live stream. If you are just joining us for the first time, welcome. This is a free Sunday night live stream that I try to do every single week. I'm not going to say I'm perfect at it, but this is basically just to go over my preparation every single Sunday for you guys. The main goal of this stream, guys, is hopefully this, leaves you with something that helps you prepare better for the week ahead, and gives you, something to, utilize and incorporate into your trading. I will say that probably the biggest takeaway that you can get from this stream, guys, is that preparation on Sunday night is so critical to my routine, and it has been instrumental in my trading throughout my, really as soon as I started doing it, right, which has really been for the last 2 years now. And so, like I said, guys, I think that preparing on Sunday nights really lessens the emotions that get brought into trading, because your plan is laid out and you are given your mind is more clear, right? Because it already knows what it wants to execute on. It's just about being patient at that point and waiting for those setups to come into your wheelhouse, right? Which is more important than ever right now, guys. We have yields at very elevated levels. If you don't know, well, now you know. That puts pressure on valuations. It puts pressure on liquidity, right? When yields are that high, and they're at cycle highs right now. And so when volume is lower, setups are harder. And it's definitely harder to hold for the full extent of moves. So it's been it's that base hit market mentality, which I think is, very, very important. So, but when it's harder to execute intraday, right? With, in this situation, because we have yields really high, your preparation is so important, right? It's that whole motto: plan, prepare, execute. And so the point of this stream is every Sunday to help you in your preparation. So I hope you guys enjoy. As always, guys, this is all my opinions. This is a market research stream. And, like I said, you should always, do your own research and, come to your own conclusions. But this is what I'm going to be doing, what I'm going to be looking at, and why I'm going to be doing such, right? So, and as always, guys, it means the world if you guys hit that like button. Always a huge help for the stream. And obviously, if you guys haven't subscribed yet, please do so. And as always, if you'd like to join us inside the Discord, we do a stream like this every single morning, usually 20 minutes before market open, 15 minutes sometimes some days, and we'll go over everything for the day ahead, and then we live trade from 9:30 until 11 a.m. So if you'd like to come join us, you can use the link in the description to the WAP.io, and you can use code STREAM20 for 20% off. Or you can use the link in my Twitter bio, or if you want to DM me, I can send you the link and the instructions. So whichever way you want to go about that, we'd love to have you inside the chat. It's a great time. All right, so let's kind of hop into things, guys. Obviously, Jet asked about ARKK in the live chat. I went over that, briefly. Again, guys, I think that, the confluence here, 200-day moving average at the major daily trend line, and we saw a bounce on Friday, right? That being said, right, there's no reason that this can't see further upside. I was just detailing that I thought that, I'm a little bit, there's, two real things, right? We've got a lot of daily resistance at this 40.77 level, which was our high of day from Friday, from back in March and February. And again, I just personally have not been seeing the highest success rate or the ease, right? It's not like 2 months ago in June, guys, where every daily trend line bounce was getting bought up, right? These have oftentimes been failing. I mean, look at the Apple daily or Apple weekly trend line, right? I mean, just destroyed, right? And it's sold off since, right? This is another good example of, in my opinion, understanding the environment that you are in, right? We had this really big uptrend on the Apple weekly, right? And look what happened, right? Just cracked right through it, and down we go, right? Yo, what's up, Dane Trades? Good to see you as always, guys. Dane and Rocky in the chat, always good to see the guys. This was, and again, guys, this was a layup short on Meta last week, which I somehow fumbled, but I'm not going to get too deep into that. But a bunch of people were asking in the replies, what was my conviction for the Meta short last week, right? Like, why did I take that position, right? Obviously, guys, I would have been a $80,000 plus profit on that trade had I held. And obviously Thursday, Friday, those premiums went nuts. I bought the 285 puts for like $40 a contract, guys, and they hit $10, so $1,000 per contract on Friday. The conviction behind this trade was relatively simple, right? This is mirroring the Apple chart of just this really steady weekly uptrend, and you kind of get that like rising wedge type of look. And then when this broke down last week, we actually retested the weekly trend line on the daily chart, right? So the first day was right here, right? We retested into this big daily weekly uptrend, right? And we rejected right at that resistance point. I took an entry on puts on Monday. I swung them into Tuesday. I actually did trade Meta like on the 282.5 puts for a really nice gain, but like I said, ended up being like break even on Meta last week or just under it and total. So honestly, like I said, this was one where I wish I had bought some time because it was just an A+ weekly short setup off that trend line. So what's good? Rocky B and Dane in the chat, two great guys to throw a follow to. Look left, puts out some great SPY levels as well. He's a mod in our Discord and he's awesome. So make sure you guys throw him a follow. Barack, what's going on? I'm doing well, man. Sunday night stream, just getting after it. So like I said, guys, that ARK chart is a good example. Again, I think that coming into this week, I'm just being a little bit more cautious about applying capital towards these like daily trend line setups because, again, they are in focus. So quickly, I want to talk about the S&P 500 first, guys. Obviously, pretty big downside week last week inside the S&P, right? And if we look at the daily chart, guys, we broke through that 50-day. That's the reason I have this up on the chart is when we break through the 50. I think that's like, reason enough to have it on the daily chart, kind of coming into the week of preparation here. We've seen a lot of really good setups correlate with break below the 10 and then that break below and retest of the 50, right? So SPY broke down through the 50-day, right? Everybody's like, oh, SPY broke down through the 50-day first time, retested the 50-day perfectly, and then we get the further downside move to 433, right? So personally, right, I have been looking at more short setups as of recent, right? Coming into this week, I think that there's a few levels that I really want to pay attention to. And if you guys are a little bit new to the stream, if you guys are joining us for the first time, personally, I like to use the hourly chart during my preparation for the week, right? So in this case, on the S&P 500 hourly, guys, I am going to look at two really important levels that I have right here. Okay, let's make this a little bit easier. All right, so for me on the S&P, I really want to pay attention to that more recent daily low, which is 433. And then this area of resistance up here, right, which was that 437 zone, right? 437 is really my key level, 437.20 coming into the week, right? We had a high of day on Friday at 437.57. Now, you will notice on that hourly candle, we swept liquidity above that resistance, right, at 437.23, and we shoved back below. And you can see, guys, that we had some really wicky price action, right, through the middle of the day Friday. It was an OPEX day, to be expected, but, I didn't think there was a lot of strength behind said, kind of relief push right after the test of 433. So coming into this week, I really want to watch closely at that 437.23 level. I think that's going to be a really, really big spot going into this week. If we do trade above that, I would not be surprised to see that 50-day moving average retested, possibly a move into this 441, 440 area. But really, again, my expectation coming into this week is we have two very important events coming, right? We've got NVIDIA earnings Wednesday after the close. That is a huge event for all of tech, right? NVIDIA has been the stock which has led us up from, kind of those October lows, right? You think about the sentiment shift, AI, ChatGPT. Obviously, they kill earnings last quarter. Market resumes an absolutely insane run, right, since. And then here we are again. Next quarter's coming up. NVIDIA's in a really important spot, and they're going to have the earnings to match. So I think this is a huge catalyst for the market. That goes without being said, honestly. And Friday, arguably the larger catalyst is we have Fed Chair Powell on tap, right? So I don't think it's unreasonable to think that we could probably trade in a range here on the S&P inside of this 437 into that 433 area, right? 433 being last week's low now. And again, I think that this is going to provide some serious resistance at this 437 level on the S&P. Why? Well, if we look at the daily, right, we had some really, really important support here on the S&P 500. If we go back, guys, to the early July, right, the 6th, we had this daily candle, right, print. Low of the day that day was 437.06 on that daily candle from July 6th, right? The next day, we print this really nasty upper wick, right? Looks like we're going to fail to the downside, but once again, the market finds support at 437.3, right? So this zone, right, is provided a lot of daily support at that level, which pushed us into 450. Therefore, I think that 437 level is going to act as a major pivot, right, as we come into this week. Okay? And so I really think that that's a really, really important spot to watch. And personally, I think this could, again, on Mondays, I try to leave the S&P alone for a little bit and let it kind of develop. But again, I'm approaching this week as we've kind of got a range here. 435 is that line in the sand in between, right? This 435.6 area. We saw dips get soaked pretty steadily, right, into this 435 area. You can see that because of these longer hourly wicks down. But, like I said, guys, OPEX Friday action, not the clearest. So really what I want to watch is, for me, I'm kind of like approaching this as I'm going to be looking to short resistance at 437. And, if we get flushes down to 433 until that breaks, right, if we see buyers step in there, I think that we could try to carve out a little bit of low. I'm here for the first time. Your professional, articulate demeanor is impressive. Thank you. Your knowledge is indicative of how much work you put in. Can't wait till opening tomorrow. Thanks, man. I appreciate that. That means a lot to me. I love when you guys say nice or not so nice things in the live chat. Either way, I'm a big fan. So thanks for your kind words. Appreciate that a lot. I can't say your username, but I appreciate it, man. That means a lot. So again, those are the levels I want to pay attention to. I always say it, guys, but I try to make trading as easy as possible in terms of what you're looking at, and clouding it with more indicators or Bollinger Band or whatever you want to use. I don't ever hate on strategies because if it makes you money, then sweet. But for me, I have the brain that I need to be kind of have a clear cut focus and really watch. As little as possible. So again, those are the levels I'm going to be paying attention to, guys. Probably going to let S&P 500 settle a good bit tomorrow. And then, we'll look for a trade if it sets up. But again, there's a few names that I do want to watch. So first name I actually do want to cover, as much as I'm talking about not longing weekly trend lines. BABA does look somewhat interesting. All right. This is the BABA weekly. Haven't heard about China for a little bit. I think most of the sentiment has been pretty negative. And I think that there was a pretty interesting sweep that came in at 3:59 p.m., right? 3:58.44, if you guys can see this. The 90 calls on BABA for this week, right? So out of the money call sweep, last 2 minutes, and really it was the last minute. So this came in 15 seconds before 3:59, guys. And almost 300K in premium on that call sweep, right? 298K, 298.3K came in at the end of the day on those 8:25.90 calls on BABA, right? So a minute before the close. For whatever reason, whenever I see really interesting call flow like that on a name like BABA, I always pay attention, right? Because it always seems like somebody knows something when it comes to this stock. Personally, right? Again, I'm not looking to really be forcing longs. I'm also not being aggressive at all on the long side right now. I think that this could set up to be interesting. It's just like when you see flow like that last minute of the day on a name like BABA, I always pay some attention, right? Makes sense from a weekly standpoint. I think it makes sense from a daily standpoint as well on BABA. Not so as much, but I think the weekly is very, very interesting. Personally, if we do see kind of that, 4-hour uptrend, we'll go to the 4-hour really quickly. All right, so yeah, we kind of like got that spot right off the 4-hour uptrend, right? It's not the best uptrend in the world, in my opinion. It's a lot clearer on the weekly. But I think it's interesting enough that we did see buyers step in like that. Again, this is the weekly on BABA, right? Right at that spot. Everybody's got the way they draw trend lines. This is dating back to the October kind of low, right? Low for now. Personally, the way I'm approaching this is relatively simple. If we can hold on to that 87.80 area, I think this does profile interesting on the 90 calls. Definitely one I'm going to be watching. I think that, again, above here, I think we could target into 89. But, I think this is also a name where you have to just keep a watch on it at the open, right? BABA usually is a pretty telltale name where it gives away kind of its strength or weakness for the day. First 15 minutes, K-Web had a pretty ugly day, down to almost 4%. But the K-Web is also into a big area of support, which is, I think, one reason you are seeing these China names get a little bit of flow on Friday, right? I think that also we've got a very touch and go week for the US market, right? S&P 500, we've got Nvidia Wednesday, we've got Chair Powell on Friday, right? Those are two huge events, guys. And I think that a lot of the times, what's going on, guys? Make sure if you guys are just joining us, you do hit that like button. It helps out the stream a ton if you enjoyed the free streams. Your support is what allows us to do that, guys. So if you guys are enjoying the free streams and you'd like to watch me stream live every single day, every morning, you can use the link in the description for our WAP and sign up. You can take 20% off and try your first month for 20% off. You can also DM me on Twitter if you'd like me to send you that link, and I'd be happy to. I think there's 10 spots left for that 20% off code. So if you guys would like to use it, the code is all caps stream20, and you'll be able to watch me stream live every single day. The K-Web is pulling into that bigger area of support, right? So I don't think it's a surprise that BABA got a big sweeper like that. Keep in mind, flow is not an end-all be-all, but when the ingredients kind of line up like this, you've got the K-Web at support, you've got the BABA weekly, you've got, right? And it's not saying that these things can't fail. This has been a brutal market for longs, in my opinion. So I'm covering the longs first. But it's something I want to keep on watch, right? I want to keep those 90s on watch. Obviously, with that much premium on that late on a Friday is definitely interesting. So I'm going to be watching here, again, with a volatile week for, NVIDIA earnings, right? Powell, sometimes the China names tend to outperform a little bit. So worth keeping on watch, in my opinion. I'm going to be keeping it on watch. COVID stocks are interesting. I'm going to talk about PFE, mRNA as well. We'll see. Zoom's got earnings tomorrow, but Flush interests me there. All right, so that's the long focus. All right, so short focus, guys. I'll cover a couple names. I actually have one swing open right now. I'll cover this for you. I'm down, I think, 20% on my JPM put swing. The reason that I entered this, guys, was pretty simple. This is the JPM daily. I'm already in a position here, like I said, for puts for 825. I don't know if I'm going to end up exiting tomorrow. It's going to be probably highly dependent on the action we get. But I want to cover this one just because it fits the technical mold, right? We're getting really tight here on the daily. We've got this trend line below, which looks like it needs to get tested to me, especially because we've got this major confluence pivot at 143. Also, right, close below the 50, retest the 50, reject, and close under on Friday on JPM. That has kind of been the telltale sign, right? S&P 500, what do we do? Test the 50, close below it, right? And then you get the bigger move down, right? It's retest the 50, close below, retest, bang, right? I'm kind of looking for a similar move there on JPM. And so like I said, I've got a swing open here for the 825 puts. Like I said, I'm not sure what I'm going to end up doing with this tomorrow. It's really going to be highly dependent on whether we can close over the 50 or reclaim that 50. I'm operating with pretty much a risk in that 149.5 area, high of the day. And so we'll go from there. But again, I think this chart looks attractive for some potential downside into 144, at least 145. So I'm going to be watching the financials because we had some ugly candles across the financials on Friday, in my opinion, right? BAC, large upper wick, rejected that 29 level, rejected that 29.5 level, right? Pulled down. Citigroup, kind of the same story. Some of these down names kind of like financials, some of the down names like Caterpillar looks kind of gross to me. Also, right, like some of those names look like they may need their turn, right? Cat, another one, losing the 10-day, rejected twice. This looks like a prime short setup to me, but, look at that, right? That's got some room if it can crack that low from Friday, in my opinion, right? These earnings gap ups have just been faded, right? It's been like find an earnings gap and fade it. But I think that that's interesting as well. Some of those names line up well, right? 50-day kind of sitting at that 259 area. So, all right. So those are, again, it's kind of like a broad scope. I'd personally keep the financial names on watch short side this week. Also, yields being up this high, guys, not the best for the banks, in my opinion. I think that's actually just like a fact. But again, I think that, like I said, those are worth keeping a watch on. I personally don't think I can short Caterpillar again after trying and failing like 7 or 8 months ago. But they just love buying that stock. So like I said, that's kind of what I'm rolling with right now to get into the week. A couple names that I do want to watch. Obviously, I think COVID stocks are getting the heat on Twitter this weekend. PFE definitely looks interesting to me. Zoom calling all employees back into the office screams issues internally. The irony of them calling employees back is astounding. Seems like a desperate move for them. How would you feel if you got a call back into the office from Zoom? Like out of all firms, you work for the company that is literally like, providing the infrastructure to the entire work from home movement. And they're like, no, we need you to come back in the office, actually. I'd be heated. I'd be absolutely heated. So again, guys, what I'm going to be watching in terms of some of the COVID names, I do think that they're interesting. They actually look good from a technical perspective. I know everybody's talking about the Alex Jones video, I guess. I don't even know if I can say his name on YouTube, but I think everyone's kind of talking about that, right? And I think that it's, I can't speak to the credibility of that video, obviously, but, I do think we're obviously seeing COVID uptick across the board. Obviously, the Biden administration put out a, kind of fluff headline. Hey, make sure you're getting your boosters. The fall is coming, right? Guys, the fall is coming up. It's flu season, right? I'm not going to get political here. What I think is interesting, right, is PFE getting back over the 50, right? I think that's probably a good sign for sure. And there's a pretty big area to trade in here. The reason why I like this, okay, is because there's so much room on the daily, right? I mean, this has pretty strong characteristics. We've been green 3 days in a row, though, here. So I would really like to see some type of consolidation or inside day tomorrow, personally, on a name like PFE. And I think that, again, that 37.80 level is definitely has some potential to the upside. So, again, one thing I do want to watch for, guys, also into this week is really looking at a chart like mRNA, right? This is definitely an interesting one as well. Again, kind of coming back down, retesting right into this 100 level. I'd be interested to watch this one to see if it can kind of bounce off of that 100 level, right? That's a big psychological level of support. We broached all the way down to 96. This was a pretty strong daily candle on higher volume, right? And then we're breaking back, down towards this 100 level on much lower volume. So from a VBA, from a volume standpoint, it looks solid, right? But again, I think that this is a better risk to reward chart to start the week. I do think those names are worth keeping on watch, though, if we get a headline, something like that. Everyone's also kind of talking about these names right now, so always some caution with that as well, guys. PFE's been green 3 days in a row. At the very least, I'd want to see some type of inside day there, right? And then look for a move to 37.85 if we get it, right? But it's a nice chart. PFE definitely has a really nice chart. So, yeah, NVAX is probably another good one if you'd like to get really speculative with it. Zoom would be definitely, in my opinion, probably like one of the better ones, right? If we get some type of, actually cases are rapidly rising. Got to see how this one has earnings on Monday. So I'd like to see how this one reacts. If it dips off earnings, I think that is really interesting. Maybe scoop some dated calls. We'll see. All right. So a couple other top focus setups I want to cover quickly, guys. Okay. So obviously, like I said, we talked about the Meta, right? Downside trade last week. I think Google is definitely very interesting to me into the start of this week, personally. This has been, I think one way to think about this chart, guys, is if you think back to like May and June, any chart that had that really condensed sideways action, right? And then it started to break to the upside, right? We saw, pretty much every chart start to have its run, right? And, in those, they kind of go one by one, right? Like Nvidia led us, and then it was AMD, and then like these others subsequently went, right? In this market, like the last 3 weeks, we're seeing charts break to the downside. That is a fact, right? You scroll through the FANG names, you scroll through any of these names, guys, and they're breaking down one by one by one, right? Like first it was Apple and Tesla, and then it was Meta, and now, this chart's looking shaky to me. I got to be honest. So again, if we look at, right, reject the 10 on Friday, 50-day sitting at 124.67. Again, a lot of these charts have been getting drawn into their 50 days. That's just how it's been, right? When SPY cracks the 50-day, right, charts start to gravitate. If we look at this chart setup, personally, I think this is a great one to range trade. First off, right, on the hourly on Google, okay? Personally, what I'm going to be looking for here is a test. Does anybody tell me where I'd probably be looking to initiate some type of scalp short, or where I would find the best risk to reward on the short side here? Anybody? We do a quick little quiz in the live chat. I feel like some of you guys I think that's beneficial. But based on the hourly pivots, right, where would I be looking for the best risk to reward on the downside, right, to initiate short? There you go. Yep, 127.97, right? This big hourly level right here. Right? Yeah. Everybody's saying 129.97. You got it. Dubs in the chat. Why do I like this level in terms of risk to reward short? Right? Well, the hourly is a nice view, right, into the history, the trading history, right? We had a massive range that we traded in here, right? On the hourly and the 4 hour, the daily, right? 131 resistance, right? 132 resistance, 128 support, right? All but one time we saw 128 dips get bought on Google, right? And therefore, it is going to take that level probably a few times of getting tested before it breaks down. But if we are seeing these charts start to shift, right, and we are seeing, what's the saying we always go to, right? Old support becoming new resistance, bearish. Old resistance becoming new support, bullish. Okay, that's the very basic principle, right, of these charts. So honestly, what I want to be looking for here is a retest at that 128 level, and then some type of sweep and rejection, right? I'd like to see them grab liquidity above, sweep it back down, and then again, I'm going to be looking for entry 15-minute time frame here, personally, right? Hourly sweep would be really sick, but some type of fake move above 128, they get bulls in above that, right? And then bring it back down to close the candle. That would be the A+ short setup here for me, right? And so, again, I think I'm going to be looking toward those 124, 125. So that's definitely what I'm going to be looking at here on Google. This is definitely a big spot, like I said, at 127.97. So that's going to be the spot that I'm watching closest into this week. And again, that's me personally, right? Going into tomorrow, I think I'm going to have my eyes here, especially with a name like Meta breaking down, guys. I think that's a ominous preceding chart for a name like Google, right? So this is a name that, again, relative weakness on Friday, guys. This name was down 2%. It also kind of just traded in that range right after gapping down in the morning. So going to pay attention really closely to that 128 level going into tomorrow for the short side ad. So that's going to be kind of my game plan, guys. Again, and on the Google Daily, right, we talked about kind of the moving average confluence there, right? EMA confluence, we got the rejection of the 10. 50-day sits at 124.67. I think that 125 is a pretty solid target on the downside if we get that move. So, again, that's a name that I do want to watch. And, again, I'm not going to crowd it too much, but Meta as well I think is very interesting, right? This, to me, guys, this chart is now, until further notice, this chart is cooked. You can't break a long-term uptrend like this and expect that, you're just going to get buyers coming back in, right? This looks gross. This does not look good at all. I would not buy this chart, right? I would not buy this chart to buy and hold, right? This is a massive run off the lows. What got us higher is now coming down, right? Just as quickly, right? But again, I think that the level to focus on here is that daily spot at 290, right? 291 is a huge level, and you've got the 50-day sitting there at that 291 area. So if we get a bounce in the near term into 290, 291, that would be, A+ short risk to reward for me. And again, guys, I have been, shorting pops more often than not. The 3 times I tried to long last week, I got served, right? It just was not kind to me in the slightest. So do I think that the indices need relief? I think that's a, interesting question. What's going on, guys? If you enjoyed the stream, please don't forget to leave us a like. If you'd like to tune in for daily live streams, you can hit that link in the bio or in the description, or you can DM me and I will send you it on Twitter. So if you want to shoot me a DM, go ahead. Do I think that they need relief? I think that they could see relief, but given the catalyst-ridden week we have, right, with Fed Chair Powell on Friday, I don't think we're going to see any large outsized move until then. And that's kind of why I was saying I don't think it's out of the question that we could trade in between 437 and 433 until Powell, or maybe until NVIDIA earnings Wednesday, right? So, and you never know, right? There's always, there's seems like headlines coming out in this market more than ever right now. So we'll have to see what it has in store for us. But if you guys enjoyed the stream, please don't forget to drop a like, guys. I went over Tesla on my main account, the main Twitter. Personally, so I tried to take calls for 825 off 221, guys. I took a 15% loss. Personally, I talked about this. It's coming into the weekly level, right? That weekly trend line is huge. And again, right, we've talked about it, but the weekly trend lines have just been a little bit, kind of bait and switchy as of late. They just have not had the best confluence to them because we've seen a lot of names breaking, right? I mean, that's pretty simple. So I think Tesla could see truly maybe down into this 208.50 area, which is what the level I talked about on Twitter. As far as the daily chart goes, obviously the weekly chart is really coming into that big trend line as well, right? So again, I think it could see a little bit more on the downside. What do you think about the retest of 440? Very key level. Yeah, so I talked about this as well. I think 440 is an interesting spot. I think that we need to get through 437.5 first in order to retest 440. And again, right, we've got the 50-day sitting at 441.21 right now. So, that 440, 441 area, if we got a retest there, I'd be looking to see how it reacts to the 50-day. That'd probably be a short for me. But, it's hard to say without, really knowing the reasons behind us testing that level, right? I think a lot of people are looking for a bounce, and I think that it's going to be tough to get through 437.57. But if we do, I think we trade up to 439, 440. So what do I think about the chatter on Disney with Apple? It's interesting that they're trying to buy ESPN. I don't know if that's the best deal for Apple, but I mean, I'm not going to comment too far on the speculation, but I don't know. I think ESPN's kind of a failing business model, or a dated business model, at least at this point now. It's not failing, but it's definitely more dated, right? I mean, all right, honest question. Where do you guys watch the majority of your baseball or football, college football highlights? Are you watching it on SportsCenter still, or are you watching it on Twitter? Be honest. Where are you guys getting the majority of your sports content from now? Or TikTok, right? Oh, I don't know if I can say that. I'm getting the majority of my Twitter feed is littered with highlights, right? And so I'm not like turning on SportsCenter and sitting there and watching for 4 or 5 hours, which kills their bottom line in terms of ESPN. That's why they've had the, layoffs they have and things of that nature. So I think that would be interesting. Maybe Apple revitalizes it, but yeah, streams and Twitter, right? So yeah, like I said, somebody asked AMD with NVIDIA ER. Yeah, probably a solid sympathy. I think the AMD weekly chart, I mean, if you want to talk about charts, signaling what moves could potentially be coming, this NVIDIA weekly chart's gross. This is a weekly sweep of liquidity at the 107 level, right? We talked about how key that 107 area was on AMD. We swept liquidity above that level and closed below, guys. It doesn't get much more bearish than this on AMD, guys. This is a nasty, nasty sweep. So if you're wondering what I'm talking about, why I think this chart looks very bearish, right? You get this long upper wick above the key level at 107, right? What does that indicate? Well, we had that big move up on Monday. You get buyers that come in. We're back above that level, right? There's room up to 120, etc. And then look what happens, right? They don't wait for the candle close. Candle closes under this major weekly support, right? And when you consolidate for 6, 7 weeks like that, 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7, 8 weeks, almost 9 weeks, you're talking about probably a big move in the cards, right? And so when you sweep liquidity like that, and I don't like this chart at all from a long side perspective, right? If anything, I'd be trying to short this name. However, personally, I am not going to be touching this name more than likely until we get NVIDIA earnings, right? I think it's going to probably trade pretty choppy over the next 2 days. If I was looking at it, right, from a strictly technical perspective, if NVIDIA didn't have earnings, I'd be looking for a retest of this major level, right, at 106.80, right? I'd be looking for a retest of that level. If we got it, I think that'd be a pretty A+ risk to reward short. But we do have NVIDIA earnings, so I think caution is very, very much warranted trading those names. So, all right, guys, I'm going to wrap it up for the stream for tonight. Covered about 7 or 8 names in total. I really hope you guys enjoyed this stream. Hopefully it brought you some value to help you get ready for the week ahead. If you would like to join us for the week ahead, guys, and tune into the pre-market live stream every day, as well as hop on live trading with us, you can go to the link in my Twitter bio or in the description and use code STREAM20 to join us inside the Discord for an awesome week of trading. That'll get you 20% off, all caps, STREAM20. I hope you guys enjoyed the stream. I hope you guys gained some value and gained some knowledge. If there's stuff you'd like to see more of, let me know in the comments. And as always, thanks for watching, guys. Trade smart, trade safe, A+ setups only. I'll see you guys on the streams. Peace.